I just like
Okay,
to
so
say that anything said in this meeting is purely for entertainment values only. There's no legal advice given here at all. Anything you hear, you're quite welcome to check out yourself. And if you find it to be correct, then you can use it. But obviously using caution. Thank you. Michael, all yours. If everybody else put on
okay,
mute, if you've got a question, or let him have a talk, and then we'll put questions on afterwards.
yeah.
So put yourselves on mute, guys and girls.
Okay, I just is there? Am I able to do screen share? What do they call it? Yeah. Can I do a screen share at all? Do I have that facility? I do. Okay, beautiful.
Should be able to now. Just put it on. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's all right. Well, I show them live in private first so they can see what's in there. Yeah.
No worries. You can do that. That's all good.
Okay. Okay. So as you can see, this is what live in private looks like. You got your usual, all the channels that you've joined are all down on the left-hand side. And hopefully one of them will be live in private, as you can see here. So you click on live in private, and then it opens up a number of different channels. So live in private, we're a band of merry men. If you understand Magna Carta 61, peaceful rebellion, that's exactly what we are. We're a band of merry men, and all we do is challenge the jurisdiction, the authority, and the claims that the corporate government keep persisting with. So each channel, each chat here inside Live in Private has specific subject matters. So, for example, we've got the Bills of Exchange library. In here makes the documents that we use for our Bills of Exchange documentation.
The people that haven't been on Telegram before, can you just explain how you would search in one of those groups? I believe there's a search thing on the right top side, and you can search for specific things like the Bill of Exchange or.
Yep. Here, if you were to, for example, you had a council issue. I think one of the ladies there said she had a council issue. Is that right? So you click on council, and this is a chat room that's basically purely just in relation to council matters. The little header above that channel up here, you can click on that, and that'll open some choices. You can see there's photos, videos, and files. If you go to files, it opens up every document that could possibly be inside that particular channel. These are all files relating to council business. So if you're after a template letter, an invoice, if you want to invoice the council, if you want to challenge a particular employee within the council, if you just want to challenge the bloody council rate, there's templates and things like that you can actually use and download from here, and then use them as your own personal letter. All you got to do is just edit them so you put your private information in. But because it is quite comprehensive, scrolling down can be a real headache, especially as you do this. So what you can do is just above it, you'll see search. So now it allows you to search in the whole library. You can actually narrow down every file to a few. For example, you just use a keyword like rates. Okay, so that would reduce it down to a number. So there, as you can see, there's those regarding rates. All right. And you can see, as you get used to it, you'll see that the names within the files, the file names, the search feature looks at those file names. So I try when I create a document, I use a search word in the actual name of it so that you can just use a word to actually do a search. That's looking inside that files document. Going back an arrow, you can see that it's still in the council, and you can still see that you can change it from photos to files or videos. There might be related videos there, and that gives you some bit of entertainment to read. That's not necessarily about councils, but it could be somehow related to GovCorp or something like that. the other feature you've got is when you go back to the channel, this is the channel again for council. In the right-hand corner there, you can see there's another search feature. So by clicking on that and go over to the left-hand side, move this out of the way, you can see that there's actually a search field and you can do exactly the same thing. So if we go rates and hit the enter, you can see there's wherever there's been a comment made, and it's not necessarily just from you, but anybody who's made a comment and they've put the word rate in their comment, and that comes up as well. And you can click on either one as a quick search. It's the reason I'm on here. I don't have a website or anything like that. Websites can be taken down, as we know. They can be changed and manipulated by the IT in GovCorp. Telegram has security features. If you went into Telegram and you typed in "live in private," you won't find me. It's a private group, so it won't come up in the general search. You have to be invited by somebody you know that's already a member, or once you are a member, you can then invite your friends. So if you go to back into private, you go up to the top here where it says "live in private." You can click on that, and then you can scroll down. And these are the general. This is the whole list in private. But here you can see there's members, and then you can hit the man figurine with the plus. You can click on that. When you do that, Telegram actually sees your contact list. So if you're doing this on your phone or on your computer, it actually finds your contact list. And then you can search your friends, or you can just go clicking away, start scrolling down and click those people that you want to join. And then down the bottom right, of course, you then add. And then all your new friends and family members will instantly be invited to join as a member in LIP. But that's the general gist. You'll always find me here. I have 32 admins. Each of the admins all are specialists in their field. They all have tested and proven wins. We do have a chat in Live in Private called Winners and Grinners. We encourage our members to, when they've had success with the bills of exchange, or if they've had wins in courts and things like that, we encourage them to make a little note about it and post it in here. So, it's like a testimonial type thing. And it just gives all the other members a bit of encouragement to keep going with what they're doing, and hopefully they can actually list their win in there as well. Yeah. But each category, as I said, it's council, there's court and police, there's bank and insurance, there's real money and precious metals. There's friends corners. From early days, I got a lot of women asking me if I had mates who were single during the COVID lockdown. They were very lonely. So I initially thought, oh, well, maybe I'll try and accommodate and put their, some sort of chat. So, the singles or the lonely people can get in there and make new friends. It's a good place to start to advertise your own group, your group, if you want to encourage, because there may be a lot of people in LIP already that actually live in your area, don't even know you exist. So it wouldn't hurt advertising your common law group as well in there. General is the main chat. It's the, oh God, excuse me. Take him out, idiot. So he's the general chat is the actual main principal chat for Live in Private. So that would be the general stuff if you want to comment on general stuff and that. But then you got the sovereign process. If you want to get yourself out of the system altogether, and there's a process to do that, or the sovereign process coaches you to do that and trains you to do that. Then there's a Magna Carta. CQV training is the chat you would visit for the bills of exchange. That's the chat you go to if you've got questions or you want to know how and what the next step is and all that sort of stuff. That's where you go. Rick's looking after that one for me. So he's very busy helping people and coaching them along and encouraging them to persist and all that. It's for people like myself. It's a rabbit hole you end up going down as you learn the process of reality that you live in, and once you're down there, it's really hard to come back to the way you were once before, because you just can't do it. It's really a psychological. You really have turned psychologically your head around, and there's just no way you can be one of the dum-dums that you used to be. And I'll tell you what, it's a real. I talk to even my own family members, some of them, they've been jabbed 4 times, and I think, oh my God, you still don't see, hear, or learn anything. They see me getting away with paying my bills, and all I get from them is, oh, but you're going to get in trouble. What the hell? I'm going to get in trouble? How? It's a bloody law. Anyway, so that's living private, okay? So that's just a quick surf around it, okay? Anyone want to ask questions before we get out of this and go to something else?
Yep. Any questions on that, anybody? Pop your hand up or just unmute yourself and have a chat. And Leanne, can you just open your camera for a minute so we know who you are? Leanne Brown.
No, I don't like people to look at me.
Oh, just for a second so we know who you are.
Leanne's my.
I'm here.
Yeah, I know Leanne now. It's all right. It's all good.
Yeah.
Again. All good.
They were good.
No questions on there, I don't think. No, just teachers how to run. When you said Rick's running that page, which Rick?
He's private. I can't say any more about it.
Okay.
He doesn't
It's
want to be seen or heard.
Not Rick in WA, is it?
No, it's not. No.
No, it's not.
Andy, I've got you on Telegram. Can you add me to the Live in Private Telegram page, please?
Yeah, you just go to the chat here, and there is a link in the chat. So you just hit the link in the chat, and you can get onto it.
All right, thank you.
No worries at all.
So
Go
new
for it,
share.
Michael.
Okay.
I think
new
you said you
share.
put a link in, didn't you? You said you put a link in the chat.
Yes, it's in there. Yeah, I did.
I can see a link in there.
It's
So
at the very top. It's the very first comment. in
right
there.
at the top.
Okay, so can you see this? Are we all looking at the same thing now?
Using a beneficiary to pay bills from a CQV trust.
Okay, beautiful. Now, for those who aren't familiar with our economy or the way our country runs, we don't have currency. Doesn't exist.
I know.
Never has. What we do have is a series of notes, checks, bills, bonds, a whole range, bills of exchange, promissory notes, that sort of thing. Now, this is what they're not telling us. They want us to believe we have coin, we have dollars. This is how they've educated us from the day we were born. And fair enough, it's a facade. It's to hide the actual crime that's being conducted. Our country, Australia, is bankrupt. It has been since 1966. America went bankrupt in 1933. And they've been trading out of bankruptcy ever since. When now Australia changes currency from pound sterling to the green bank, it instantly, automatically made us bankrupt. And that's because Australia is actually a corporation of America. We're actually an American corporation. So the operation of corporate Australia is UCC law. It's an American law system of commerce. We can call it Admiralty law. We can call it UCC, Roman law. We can do whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is it's commercial contracting. It's contract law. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, when they did that in not in 73 because they removed the crown. There was no crown left. There was nothing. In 86, they introduced the Australia Act, which replaced the Constitution, 1901. Most of you, I think you're all up to speed with this, since I don't have to repeat myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So what we're doing here now is a bit of a peaceful rebellion. Instead of going out and protesting and shit, just pay your bills with this remittance. As you can see, it's in blue ink. All you're doing is you can handwrite this on across your bill, and I'll show you what the bill looks like. This is a Vicks Road fine. You see
Yes.
that?
Yep.
Okay. If you look at the fine carefully, and this applies to a lot of bills that you receive in the mail. The header, if you just look at the header, it looks like a check. That's because it is.
Yeah.
A check or a voucher, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. It's a check voucher. The barcoding around the addressee. One barcoding is for the area bank code, and the other one is the Reserve Bank route number. This is how they transaction. This is how these dollar amounts are transactions, through digital transfer. There is no actual cash transfer. There's no. This one is a $864.40 note. It's exactly the same as a $50, $20, $10, $5 note in your pocket or in your wallet. It's exactly what it is. Okay.
Can you repeat
It's a
that
note.
again, please, Michael? Sorry.
What? Sorry.
Can you repeat that again, please?
Okay. This is a bill value, a bill amount of $864.40.
Yep.
That's what this is. This is a note of that dollar amount. It's the same as any note that you have in your wallet or purse. You know, a $50 note, $10 note, $20 note. That's exactly what this is. Okay. Now, under the bills of exchange, it's a bit of a lengthy document. It does actually have different sections in it related to different forms of bills of exchange. But the ones I just want you to focus on to start with, which is less than a 5-minute read, is the following sections. If you've got a pen and paper handy, it's section 5, 22, 26, 30, and 34. Are you all good with that? You want me to repeat?
No, fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay. If you read those 5 sections, less than 5 minutes, it'll explain exactly what this is all about and why we're doing it. In fact, it tells you that all you need to do is put your signature on it and send it back. That's all you got to do. But because we got the corruption level that we have to add a little bit extra to it. So we're instructing them what to do with this bill when we return it to them. The system that we were used to, or we're familiar with, is when you get these bills, we're taught to keep it as our receipt. And we're to pay it with our credit card, electronic fund transfer, or even cash. What we're doing when you do that, you're actually in default. You've committed antitrust law. They're not telling you that. They're sending this bill to the beneficiary of the trust that is addressed on it, expecting the beneficiary to sign it and send it back. We don't do that because they neglected to tell us that's what we were supposed to do with it. They want us to go in default. And now I'm going to explain why. You normally would have paid this with the money out of your own pocket. So that's one payment. During the course of this bill, they will make a report back to your SESQV trust and report a default because you never returned the bill. So they're telling the trust they never got paid. So now the trust pays them. It's the second payment.
You actually fill in a 1099-C to do that.
Yeah. So they're using IRS documents in the back office of the tax office. right? That's where it goes. Eventually, all this stuff ends up going through tax and also the reserve, through the banks and through to the Reserve Bank. So there's two payments off the one bill, but they don't tell you also that they securitize this, because this document, when it's sent to you, under common law, it's an express trust contract. It's a contract for you to accept and pay. But you don't have to pay it. You just have to sign it and send it back. Your trust pays it because it was sent to your trust, to your straw man. It wasn't sent to you. Right? But they can't do anything with it unless you sign it. But if they send it to you and they don't ever see it come back, well, after 30 days, you're in default. Yeah. And that's how they go back to your trust and claim a default report so that they then get those funds. So they got now 2 hits of $864.40. If you send this bill back to them, like the bills of exchange says you do, you sign it and you send it back, the original copy, they'll probably be surprised that they actually received it, because it probably doesn't happen very regularly or often. But 2, now they have that document, which is an original signed copy. They bond it, they securitize it, then they batch them and sell them into the stock, the trade, the stock exchange.
Just a quick question, Michael. Would
Yeah.
you take a copy of it before you send it back, and would you send it back by recorded post so it brings it under UPU law?
Yeah, you're registered post always back. Yes.
Okay. Would you also put a 5 cents international stamp on it, bringing it into international law?
No, I don't need to. You
What
don't
about
need to.
stamp duty? I thought there was a stamp duty on the UPU, which is 5%, a 5-cent stamp.
We don't do it because it's not necessary. It's not what you have. The bills of exchange details exactly what to do. We just follow the bills of exchange. There's none of that other stuff. You just sign it and send it back. That's the proper function of all these things, of these bills. Now you do get, with some corporations, you will get a bit of a pushback. They will contact you one way or another and say, "Oh, look, we can't accept this method of payment. We only accept MasterCard, That's just all. That's a script that they follow. We don't give a shit about that. We have reply letters. So you send them a reply letter. That's your second letter. And then they'll try and push back again. And then we have a third letter, which is a closure letter. And then after that one, if they say, "Oh, if you don't pay, we're going to take you to court," and all you answer is, "That would be excellent. Thank you. I'd enjoy that." Because just to remind you, when we do go there, I'll be asking for the master original wet ink blue copy as evidence. You better make sure you got it, because then you got a bit of a job explaining why you don't have it. Yeah, we know they've securitized it and sold it on. They got 3 bites out of the one. They got 3 bites of the one bill. We know what they're doing. They think we don't know. Right? They think they can push us that hard and scare us, threat with enforcement, demanding money with menace. They think they get away, because they have been getting away with it for decades, for over 100 years. Yeah, at least since 1909. The Bill of Exchange is actually not dated 1909. So, yeah, 200 years.
1865 prior to that, isn't it?
Oh, well, there's that one too. Yeah. I don't actually refer to that one because I don't think that one's actually royal assented, is it? Anyway, so that's what we have. That's the process we follow. The challenge is psychological, to overcome the fear factor.
Yeah.
They're not going to line you up on a firing squad. So there's nothing to fear from these bastards. They're not our government, never have been.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're a corporation. Their own statutes and their own acts that they created that are not royal assented actually shows you that their acts aren't. You're not bound by their acts, because as Commonwealth nationals, or if you want to say Commonwealth subjects, protected under the jurisdiction of the Crown, their rules don't apply to us. They're not law, they're rules. They only apply to them.
Exactly. That's what I've been telling everybody. They're only rules, they're only policies, they're not laws.
Yeah. And everything's a contract. This bill is an offer. It's an offer to contract. So what we've done is we've accepted it. We've written on here and we've told it. We've gone back and said, well, this is how you're going to pay it. This is how it's going to be paid. It ain't coming out of my pocket.
I've got a hand up, Neil. So Neil, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, if people could put the hand up, I'll try and watch who's got that hand up. Or
No worries. Yeah, Michael, just back when you say if they take it to court, you say good. Does it ever get to court or not?
Nah,
Doesn't.
they can't have case law or precedent set.
Yep. Okay.
The whole scam is secret. They don't want it exposed. They're working so damn hard now to cover this up because they've been doing it for 200 bloody years.
Yeah.
They can't afford to have this exposed. Every man and woman in this country is going to be pissed when they find out this is how what's been going on.
Yeah.
Right? This, if you like it was mentioned earlier, we need more and more people doing this because it is a numbers game. If I had 100,000 people in every state doing exactly this, paying their bills this way, especially with fines, if you just looked at fines as the only bill that came, you had 100,000 people in every state doing exactly this to every fine that they got. Your state revenue office will shut down. It's non-existent. They'll only process these. They won't be pushing them out.
I mean, there's no reason why you can't do this with your rego. You can't do it with anything that comes through the door. All under
everything. Yeah, everything. But you can't do it with if you ring up the local plumber to come around and fix your tap.
No.
You can't do it that way. But you can do it. These are corporations. See, under the laws of contracting, no corporation can have a monopoly. Well, the government has the monopoly across the board on every industry. And how do we know that? Well, they create this legislation they pass through their government, their parliament. If you look at communications or your telcos, power, gas, your energy, land, councils, police, courts, they're all different organisations and departments. They're all presumably independent, and because there's 4 major banks, there's competition in the banking industry. That's bullshit. They're all regulated under the same regulation. So they're actually an agent or a division or a department of the government. So there is no competition. It's a facade. They set these banks up, they set these insurance companies up and all these government departments up to make it look like that they're all independent, but they're not. They're all answering to the one. And that's state government followed by the Australian government, the federal. Those two control everything. So there is no, that's communism. There is no, you and I, from the day we're born and now our birth certificates are signed by our parents and we're handed over as ward of the state, property of the state. From that moment on, we are chattels, we are cargo, we are whatever you want to call it. But for the rest of your working life, you are an employee of the government. Even if you receive the pension, you're an employee of the government. There is no independence. There is no private, living in the private and stuff. How can you live in the private? Where sooner or later you're required to, hey, tell the government I'm over here. It doesn't work. Yeah.
We're sort of aware of that because we know that, as to be an individual means you get grabbed by their ship. So you're a little ship, basically. You're a little ship. Doesn't matter where you are. What you need to do is have something with a social compact agreement between two or more, giving equal rights under international law, which is what a PMA is. If you know what the government is, what the Labour Party is, what the police union is, they're all private members associations. They give themselves rights by being a private members association.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here is we're actually setting a PMA up here with our WINRA law, which we're going to set a revocable trust above it. So we have our own rights. Now, what we will be then sending letters out is, sorry, our membership doesn't allow for you to jurisdiction over it. And then at some point, we're going to learn enough to be able to claim our CQV trust back into our PMA so that we can spend it as a PMA and vote on where it goes.
Yeah, and I understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
PMAs, private foundations, and private trust, things like that, are the last to go. If you ever been and lived in the I've lived in the East. I lived in East Germany behind the Iron Curtain.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
There's no private shit, mate. There's nothing.
Yeah.
That's the last thing to go. That's the last thing you lose.
I always remember Tony Blair turning around. We've got to get out of the private and get into the public. And I never understood it back then because Tony Blair was like back before I went to the Gulf conflict back in '91. So I never quite understood it, but it's so clear now to me what he was trying to do.
Yeah. Then it's their whole game from 1901 has been this way. It's been to remove the private possessions, your rights, and all that. I mean, those of us have been in court and heard these judges the way they talk and that. I mean, that's already there. You know, the judge will even say, you know, when you challenge the jurisdiction of his court, he'll say, which is pretty like a script. They all repeat exactly the same thing. I've been properly appointed by the Parliament. and statutes supersede the Constitution. It's a standard freaking line that they all use when you challenge them. Yes. So we know how far gone we are. We know, you know, for us, we know the majority of the population are like sheep. They're dumb.
I've asked for the oath of office before now, judges, and they can't give you one. So I just call by the first name. I just, you know, call by the first name instead of the name that they wish to be called by.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just call them quorum or quorum non judice. Are you quorum non judice, or you're a court recognised under the Commonwealth of Australia? Oh, well, we're a quorum. They tell you. I said, oh, so on the court of record, just let it be recorded that you, sir, are personating a Commonwealth public officer, you're perverting the course of justice, and you're oppressive with self-interest. Do you understand that? You just go straight out and tell. 2 weeks ago, I arrested the judge. I just stood up and said, you've been civil arrested. Cite Section 13 of the Crimes Act 1914, and under Section 8, you're civil arrested without a warrant. For the charges of Section 75, personating a Commonwealth public officer, Section 43, in perverting the course of justice and everything else. And he was sweating, shaking and everything, and I was expecting him to run, because normally they just run out of the court before you even get halfway through. But he had 6 sheriffs in there by then, all escorting me off the line. But that was on the 4th floor in the major courthouse in the middle of Sydney.
Michael, which Crimes Act, 1914 or 1958? 1959?
No, 1914. 1914 Act with the with Commonwealth, which is CTH in brackets, and it will show that it was assented. It's got an assented date.
So Section 43?
Section 34 and 43 and 75, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the main ones that we use because they're the most specific. Section 24 is treason.
Yep.
They're
I thought
all,
it was 44, treason.
and this is Section 1914.
Okay.
The reason you only quote 1914 is because that particular Crimes Act is
Mhm.
for you and me to use against them.
That's what I've been doing. Yeah.
And that's an act that they are governed by, not
Mhm.
us. All right. It's got nothing to do with us. It's the rule book we use to sue them. All right. Now, obviously, if you read section 3, that one is for offences against the Commonwealth, which is what the act is. It's for offences against the Commonwealth by public servants, not by you and me. It's only for public servants. Now, recently, the federal government, Albanese, from the 1st of July, created a new commission called the National Anti-Corruption Commission. That commission was specifically set up because ASIC were useless. But that commission is solely reliant on the Crimes Act 1914 because it's the only one they can use to hold public servants to criminal account for punishment, because that's what that is. That act is to use against them, not us. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then you got two parts to that. You and I can't charge them criminally. We can say criminally, so long as we got if a police officer or a sheriff is on our side, he can then arrest, but they never do. So we don't have that option yet.
Yeah,
to
but hang on.
criminally-
They are a corporation as well. So where do they get authority? They're not even under our constitution, Commonwealth law.
We use what we
Under the
have.
Commonwealth.
We use what we have.
Okay.
If I can get a cop to see it from my perspective and go and actually act on my instruction, great. I'm not going to question his authority.
Oh, you even get one of them.
Yeah, but what you can do though is your civil suit,
Mm.
and we use that act as our price list. Now, every charge in there has a penalty. The penalty quotes a prison term. All right. Now, under the Crimes Act 1914, section B, 4B and 4K, I think it is from memory, tells you how to liquidate the prison term into a dollar amount. So you raise a civil claim for damages or a civil invoice. So you can invoice these bastards, just like they bill you.
Which section was that, sorry?
It's I think it's section 4B and 4K
Of where?
in the Crimes Act 1914.
4B and 4K. Okay.
I just see if I can quickly grab. I've seen the document, not too long. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Okay, so okay, this is
How long have you
this
been with your bills as well? Was the other one I was going to ask you.
beg pardon.
How long have you been doing this with your bills and not getting any reverb from it?
12 months,
Okay.
maybe a little bit longer now. Yeah.
And the next bill comes with a zero amount and whatever you've used that quarter.
No, they because their system is automated, they spit out every three, like rate notices and things like that. You're still going to get these bills in the mail, but they once you've had your first win with them, it's automatic. After that, they're not going to push back. You just put the remittance on it and send it back. Ideally, we would like to tell them to stop sending me the bill and just take it from the trust, but they can't do that unless they report a default. Because what they're doing is they're sending these bills to the trust address, right? That's where the beneficiary lives. It's only the beneficiary that can sign these. They can't sign them.
Yeah.
So they have to send these bills because that's
What
where the
have I done?
beneficiary. Sorry?
No. I'm just saying, what have I done? I've done something.
Oh, okay. So that's why you get the bill all the time. So just write the remittance on it. Eventually, all you need to do is just sign it, put your signature on it and send it back. That's it. Because once you've educated them, that's all you have to do. That's what the Bill of Exchange says. put your signature on it, and send it back.
Yeah.
And they fix the rest up. They're
So,
acting
to
as
me,
a
your
trustee.
utility bills, do they still show the full amount from a year ago, and you're still doing the same, or
Now,
what?
sometimes you, depending on how the corporation's paperwork works, sometimes you get you'll get in your next statement or next bill, it might have the facility marked on there where the previous bill, and it'll show zero.
Yeah.
So, right. If you didn't use the remittance and you didn't pay it anyway, what shape or form, then that bill would have come with two lots of payments on there. The previous one still outstanding, and then the new one. Right. They never tell you or write to you, thank you for your payment. They will never, ever acknowledge that they've accepted this method as a payment system. They'll rather spend all their resources and your tax dollars and your rate dollars wasting good, precious money, coin, to keep pushing you and forcing you to pay something you never had to pay out of your pocket. Never.
So have you got a bill of an example, like the one on the screen, of one that actually shows zero for one previously?
If you go into live in private and you
Yeah.
go to Grinners or Winners and scroll through there, you'll see
Okay, all right.
through statements.
With
And
a
they're
mobile
showing.
number, I don't know who it is. Does anybody recognise the mobile number that's trying to come in? I'll admit them and then ask them who they are.
Hello.
Hello, who's in?
Yeah. Me, Michael Hudson from Mill.
Oh, okay, you're on mobile, mate. No worries, all good, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't recognise the number straight away. With the recording,
Yeah, no, fair
you
enough.
can't see it, but yeah, just put yourself on mute if you could and listen in. We've got a Michael talking about how paying bills. It is recorded, mate, so don't worry if you've missed a bit. But good to hear from you, brother.
Oh, cheers.
Earlier, we're getting back to the Crimes Act 1914, where we're talking about invoicing.
Yes.
And the sections, that parts in it. I'll just read you a paragraph which is part of the invoice. We have template letters which we use, and
Put it on screen as well. Do you want to put it on screen as well?
Yeah, okay, hang on.
Share it. If you're going to read it off the screen, you might as well put it on the screen and read it.
Okay, just bear with me for a second. I've got to dig one up.
We love your knowledge, by the way, mate. We're very appreciative because not all of us have time to read these acts, and there is that many acts. It's just not funny.
Yeah, there's years of work, this one, because prior to COVID, I was the village idiot. No one listened to me. It's now all of a sudden it's all changed. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this one is sue the judge. So we'll use this one. I noticed I used this one. Noticed our officer. Picked the wrong one. I won't use that one as an example. That's a bit specialised. And just bear with me for a second. I'll invoice hopefully. Okay, yeah, I can use this one. Okay, I'll go now back to share screen. Where was it? Yeah. So we can see this.
It's coming up. Yep, got it now.
This is an invoice. This is one of many different types of invoices. They're all been designed specifically for different industries. This one's for a council. So this is invoicing a council, an idiot in the council. Okay, so you got the usual, you got your name in here, a man aggrieved by your breach of law, now issue a civil invoice for my constitutional common law, inalienable and unalienable rights being disrespected, abused, ignored, harmed. Goes on and on. This went to Port Stephens Council in New South Wales. And then quotes the Constitution 1901, Clause 8, application of Colonial Boundaries Act, and then maybe educated him a little bit about having Majesty King Charles, then the Imperial Acts, the Bill of Rights, and it goes on a little bit more. And then before we get to the itemised list, and then this is how we write to them, explaining to them how we've come to these dollar values, quoting sections of the Crimes Act 1914. So here where it says fours, you have attempted within the meaning of section 14, Crimes Act 1914. It's actually should be 13, not 14. Okay. To pervert the course of justice in respect of the judicial power of the Commonwealth, and being bound by section 43 of the Crimes Act 1914, by section 5 of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900, you have incurred the liquidated penalty for attempting to avoid the provision of section 80 of the Constitution. Right? So that's the introduction. And then as you go down the list here, section 72, 73, 75, 86, I've put those in there specifically for the council. But you do, remember these are template letters. It doesn't mean because they're there that you might want to charge them. You might want to get rid of all of them except section 75. You know, unless you have specific proof that the other ones apply to, then you would keep them. But you notice the dollar value, all of a sudden they're trying to argue over a $400 quarterly rate notice. And we're saying to them, yeah, pay me my invoice and I'll pay you your $400. It's a counter offer. It's a contract. The rate notice is a contract and you're making a counter offer. I'm more than happy to pay that $400 rate notice, but you'll have to pay this now. And then further down here, you are liable to the said, your victim and the Commonwealth Crown for the sum of 1.6 accrued daily while the offence continued by section 4K Crimes Act 1914. Now, what most people don't realise is that when you sue an individual public servant, you also sue his employer. The employer pays 5 times the amount that you're charging the employee. So you're running into the millions now. Now, when we say accrued, they have 30 days to pay this invoice for that fixed dollar amount. The moment it goes over 30, these total dollar amounts add every day they don't pay. So after the next 30 days, after the next month, it's this amount times 30.
Now, have you ever managed to get anything out of them, or have you sent one of these and got something out of them?
We've had the majority of people have started this and they've pulled out. They got too scared or whatever. But we've had a number of individuals that actually had to do they actually went to the court, because when they made a statement of claim into the Supreme Court, they did a statement of claim, a civil claim for damages. It's a tort suit, what they call a tort suit. It was processed. The court order raised. The court ordered the court order, sent it to the other side, and in order them to either pay within 28 days or they fight it in court. They always fight it in court because they got all the resources to do it, which is fine. So it's not a problem, because if you use, especially my templates are designed to actually set them up, not to give them a win. The beauty with their paperwork that they've been sending you in response, it's a crime scene. Their paperwork's a crime. You got trespass issues with them.
I've got to ask you, do you use any UPU law on this?
No,
Why not? Because if
If you
you
don't-
if you use international UPU law on this, you bring it into international law, you can go and stick it in the Hague.
We've taken 6 cases through to the Supreme Court in America using the Alien Act. We've had, out of those 6, we've had 2 wins. It's really difficult. It's very difficult to sue a judge or to sue a cop as a self-litigant, right? So what we have to do is we have to take it through the acts. If you understand what I mean, it's you're arguing on contract law. You're not arguing on anything else, and we do win in that instance because when they drag it out to the actual very day of the court, they actually want to settle with you outside the court on the steps. It's the whole system is designed to push, scare the shit out of you so you bow out, and that's what happens to most of it.
Yeah.
But when you get a few that actually stick to it, then on the actual day of the court, they don't want you going in there. And they do have a confidential. They use a
yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
those wins have been what sort of value?
well, we can't know that because you have to sign a confidentiality agreement, and they're not allowed to say anything. They just smile and go, "It's big." You notice their lifestyles changed. All of a sudden, they got nice cars and things like that. So, we know it's big, but there's a confidentiality agreement you have to sign. Now, most of them signed it as is, as a condition of, but we had a one that actually we got a bit more crafty and made a counter offer and said, I'm more than happy to agree to the offer you're making. However, I want to make some changes to that agreement, and that was free rego for life. The condition was that on the police database, their name had to be marked as to be left alone, not to be harassed by the police at all, unless they've committed a crime. So they can't be arrested. They can't do anything. If they've committed no crime, you have to leave them alone.
Yeah.
They're living in the private. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other option you can do with that as well. But you have to do, they do come at you. I'm not going to, they throw everything at you. They do everything they can to scare you off from suing them. So thick skin. So that's that part.
They've got the pennies, haven't they? At the end of the day,
They're using our money.
time.
They're using our money against us.
Yep, we've got to find the time.
Yeah.
But what you
And-
showed initially in regard to clearing your bills, that gives us a bit more currency to live, and
Yeah.
I hope we can all share that further on. Is there anything
Please.
else you can tell us about that?
Any questions, anyone? No? Okay.
Hold on.
Right.
Hold on.
Um,
Any questions? Unmute yourself if you got a question, please.
Yeah, I have one. Are these forms, or is there some way of introducing ourselves to all of these processes through the Telegram page or talking to someone?
It's all in Live in Private, mate. We do everything inside Live in Private. We don't do anything outside it.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And if you want your friends and family to join, more than welcome, but don't join them if they're idiots. We don't.
Yeah.
We want people like-minded in there because they're the only ones that are going to be any use. We can't afford to have people who aren't like us, who aren't awake. We don't want them in there. All right?
Correct.
You're not doing them a favor
No.
joining them in there, because when they go in there, then they'll invite all their idiots in there, and you've got no control over it. We can't. We lose control over it. The way I created Live in Private is like a private members association. I incorporated myself as a community service, a non-profit, and I created LIP as part of that. But I'm only a creator. All my work obviously is in there, but there's a lot of other people's work combined in there as well. A lot of members have contributed their their forms and their creations in there as well. There's 5 or 6 rules, and that is you never be belligerent towards another member. You don't argue with anybody. Everyone's equal. Everyone has one share. So even I have no superiority over anybody else. I'm equal along with every other member. I created it, but that's the limit of it.
Yeah.
We frown upon anyone who's argumentative or disruptive or anything like that. If they'll get a warning, but if they persist, they're out, they're blocked. They'll never, ever be able to come back in.
Okay. So the old lady's just passed away and we've got probate coming up. And we're going to get a bill of some description. So would I be able to use that process on my part of the probate that I might have to pay?
Yep.
Awesome.
They're a corporation. It doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah.
They fall under the I don't know if you were on earlier when I quoted these sections.
Paul was on at the start, so.
I was
Oh,
on
okay.
start, yeah.
Yep.
And
Okay.
I'll be watching the replay. So yeah.
Okay. Now the other thing too is if you go to your local federal member's office, this little pocket-size Australian Constitution book. I take this everywhere with me, right? And I explain why. If I was in court and I had to deal with a moron there on the bench, and he says something stupid like, I've been properly appointed. Oh, there you go. Neil's got one. I've been properly.
Where's mine, Neil? You should have dropped off on Sunday.
Yeah. When he says on the bench there, I've been properly appointed by the Parliament and that statutes are superior to the Constitution. I pull this book out and say, do you know what this is? This is your boss. Your boss provides this book out of the federal office. Right? And you're sitting there telling me that this has no meaning. Why is your company distributing these to everybody when they're asked for?
Is it the federal constitution or the parliamentary constitution?
It's a parliamentary one, but it doesn't matter. The stuff's in here. The stuff that we need is in here. Your section 80, your section 92, your 115, 117, 109, section 5, chapter 3 of the judiciary. It's all in the same, it's all in here. Everything you need is in here. It doesn't really matter, right? Remember, it's a prop. They can't see Constitution. In clown school, they can't see constitutional common law. They don't acknowledge it whatsoever. It's all contract law in those courts. So when you present a prop, it's one of their props. They can't deny it doesn't exist. Right? If you go to section 51, legislative powers of the Parliament, well, that's what the court just said. So if you're going in there over an unpaid bill and the judge, and you've challenged the jurisdiction of the court and there's legislative powers of the Parliament, because he said he was properly appointed by the Parliament, remember? So now he got a reference. Right? You go to section 51 and go to XVI, which is number 16. Bills of exchange and promissory notes. That's what it says in there. So it is a form of payment. Regardless of what they say, oh, we can't accept that as a payment. That's a load of shit. They have to. Right? And then you got the Currency Exchange Act, if you read in there, and a few other little acts that I've got a list of. It clearly says there that if you ask them to, it's like with cash. If you're going into a store and they don't accept cash, if you ask them to accept the cash 3 times, you can walk out with those goods. You pay. That's the law. You're not stealing it. They agreed not to accept cash. So the transaction is closed. It's a contract. They've accepted the contract.
Well, it was a trust agreement, technically, because there is no money in society. So it was a trust
Right.
agreement. So
Yeah.
you did a 3-stage process on a trust agreement and they agreed to it. So you walked away
Yeah.
with the
So if
good.
you go into Coles or Woolworths with a basket full of groceries collecting groceries and you go to the register and they go there, oh, we don't accept cash as a method of payment. And you ask them 3 times, I've got cash. I can't pay any other way. Cash is the only way I can pay it. I wish you to, don't say I want you to, or I
Yeah,
demand you. You don't do that. You can't be
That's a
belligerent.
private word. That's a private word. Wish.
Yeah.
It's a
I
private-
wish you to accept my cash as payment for the goods. You say it 3 times and they say, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I say, well, thank you very much. Have a nice day. And just walk out with your trolley load. Because the law says you can take it. They just committed. They just made a contract agreement with you. You've paid it.
Yeah.
So they're just some of the interesting things. It's like coins.
Can I
Um,
just interrupt for a moment? I was saying that to a like-minded store, and we were talking about the bills of exchange. We were talking about that particular aspect of the bills of exchange. The person told me that has recently changed, and as long as the merchant offers me 2 forms of payment, card and Afterpay, they are in the clear.
I've
They
never
said it's a
seen.
new law that's just come through.
Well, the law's not exposed. I don't know anything about that law. I've never seen it. Haven't read it, and I just read the book recently. It's not in there. And then who's making that law change? Is it royal assented?
Of course not. Nothing is.
Well, that's not law.
Yeah.
It's a rule.
Yeah.
We don't. Women and men don't follow rules. We only
No.
follow the rule.
And an act isn't a law anyway, is it?
No, an act is it's like a constitution. Well, it's a constitution, isn't it? An act's a constitution. It's a book. It's policy being created and passed through Parliament, and it's supposed to be royal assented to actually be law. It's a guidebook, I guess, if you want to call it that way.
So the 1914 Act did have royal assent. It's actually got Elizabeth's or whoever's signature, Victoria's, I can't think who was in charge, George, whoever it was. It's actually got a signature on it, has it?
It's not. A signature isn't necessary. It has to go pass through at certain stages of Act approval, and then it gets signed by the Commonwealth Governor General. He's then enacted it into law.
But the Governor General recently is not enacted by the Queen or the King or anybody.
No, that's right. So we haven't had a Commonwealth Governor General since 1960. So everything after that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But they got rid of the royal seal in 66, I think it was, and in 73 they got rid of the crown.
And the 73 Tides Act brought the tide to the centre of the country.
Yeah,
Although whenever you look at any act, it always states Christmas Island, Lord Howe Island, Norfolk
Yeah.
Island, and the Barrier Reef.
yeah.
I mean, tax office is hilarious because they won't. I sent them 3 letters back in 2018 in regard to tax, and they won't even send me a letter anymore. I forgot to put on the fee schedule about phone texters, so they still text me and ask me to fill in my forms, but they won't send me a letter. And I basically put them out on how the tax office was inclusio exclusio. So they only include Lord Howe Island, Christmas Island, Norfolk
Yeah.
Island, and Barrier Reef. They don't
Yeah.
include the mass that I live on. They
Yeah.
will not describe the meaning of the word income. So I don't know what that means. So how can I ever put down a figure for income?
Yeah.
And obviously there is no money in society. So how could I pay them any money? I can only pay them dollars, which is made up, fiction. And I gave them a fee schedule with it, and I've never had a letter from them since 2018.
Yeah, and that's extra. If you combine the Currency Exchange Act and the Constitution 1901 Section 115, the most you can pay on anything is $20, because between the two, the only gold we have is the $2 gold coin. Now, the currency exchange says it's
Move 10 coins, yeah.
10 times.
Yeah.
You go 10 times. So your highest gold coin denominator is the $2 coin, so it's $20.
Yeah.
If you were to pay a bill with cash, that's it. That's the
Yeah.
gold coin, right? That's all we can do.
The funny thing is, gold coin is worth about 3.2 cents because that's how much metal is going in.
Yeah. I know. But I remember when I used that to pay my fines, 20 years ago or something like that, or 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I think it might have been. I don't know how long the $2 coin's been out, I can't remember. But I used to ring them up and complain about it, and they used to have to send me a brand new bill that was a new fine. The fine was originally like $150, $160, something like that. I'd ring them up and complain about it and say, look, you can't do that. Your fine for one is null and void.
We lost.
Prior to conviction.
You want to drop your
That's the Bill of
drop
Rights.
your video, Michael? We lost.
Now
you.
that would argue with me, but the Bill of Rights doesn't apply and all that rubbish. Oh, really? Okay. Can you see me now?
Yeah, we
You
can
still
hear
see
you now. We lost you from just after the $2 coin when you rebutted it and they came back to you.
Oh, okay. No.
Yeah, I mean, maybe drop
So,
your video if you bandwidth.
so I'd bring them up and we'd have a bit of a discussion. It wasn't okay. It could be my bandwidth.
It could be them playing with us, to be honest.
I don't know. What's I don't know. I am targeted, so
Yeah.
You should be pretty safe though. I doubt they'll be looking in or watching. But anyway, so I'd have to ring them up and explain to them. So they'd have to reissue me that fine for $20. Or the one time one of the supervisors was actually quite gracious. He said, "Oh, look, pay us the $20 by credit card." No, I wasn't really sure if I should, what they're like. But she did. She took $20 out of my credit card and then the account was done. It was closed, finished. But you can't get away with that now because they're so confident. They're so so obvious. They don't care. They don't care if they're breaking the law because the laws don't apply to them. It only applies to us. And that's their whole attitude. Yeah.
It's a joke, to be honest, when you look at how they've set Australia up. It really is.
Yeah. But if you look, going back to the Crimes Act 1914, you can only get the PDF copy. Right? It's only 30 pages or something like that anyway. And it says assented to 29th October 1914. This act had been plagiarised ever since from one government to the next. If you look up this act in Australia, the Australia government website, there's like 300 pages in it. But none of it's resented. They've gone and defaced and assented acts, right? And plagiarised it and add all this other shit to it, which means it's no longer assented. It's not
Have
the
you
same.
got a link to that you can put in the chat so people can grab it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, just bear with me for a second. It should be quick.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Any questions out there? Mick, Leanne, Paul, Neil, John, Duncan. Duncan's very quiet. He's lost his boat by the looks of it.
John
Gary?
in the chat. Sorry, John in the chat says Nibs has that book. What is John talking about?
Nibs has which book? Which John?
The
Isn't that
Crimes
today?
Act.
Nibs. Oh, right. Okay. Michael Nibs. I had a good chat with him today. Thanks, John. I had a good chat with him. He gave me a good link, actually, something called OpenAI. If you type in www.openai.com, it's a really good site. You can put a letter in, all right? You can cut and paste a letter in. So it's www.openai.com. You can put a letter in. You can actually cut and paste a letter into it and ask them to give you a lawful reply to it. and it's frigging scary what it can do. And then you can ask it to write it in the way that perhaps Charlie Chaplin might write it, or whoever you like, you know. But it will then rewrite it in another format under AI of how someone else might write it. It's really, really, really clever. I hate to think AI is that good, but if it can help us, then why not? You do have to give an email address for it. You do have to give a password for it, and it will come back to your phone and want to connect to you. And it probably tracks you completely, but it is giving you the information. So I had to play with it today after Michael gave it to me, and I put some of the bank letters in there and put back a lawful reply, and it was quite hilarious what came up.
Sorry, it's Leanne. I'm so far behind you guys, but so I won't ask anything. I'll catch up with Deb and I'll get up to speed eventually.
It doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you're sort of aware of what's going on and
Oh, hey, absolutely. I've been semi-aware since probably 1980 that things weren't right, but I just haven't had anyone to talk to about it because none of my friends or family are at all interested. So I'm way behind you guys. But
you do realise by saying 1980, you're showing your age.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And care factor is 0.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I don't care.
We're all real beautiful people here. None of us are nice. The only one that I know is nice is Daniel Andrews and the whole of his bloody gang.
Oh, he's a beautiful thing, isn't he?
No, he's nice. Nice meaning foolish, frivolous.
Yeah,
ignorant,
nice.
dense,
Nice. Yes.
Mongol retarded idiot. And that's what nice means in etymology.
Yes, well, I made the mistake of saying when I met you, oh, it's nice to meet you. I thought, oh, well, I won't say that again.
Good on you. God
Okay,
bless you.
So John's replied in the chat that he has the 1914 Crimes Act book. Would that be helpful for Michael?
Oh, well, I just posted into your chat thing the PDF.
Did
Oh,
you
not
have the
PDF,
whole lot?
rich
Did
text
you have-
format version of it.
Did you have the whole lot? Did you?
Yeah, I've got,
Oh,
mate, I got everything. I got
Sorry,
an
I'm-
archive. I've got a huge archive, mate. I got
Sorry, I
everything.
misunderstood that. Thank you.
No, you're right, mate. You know.
Now, if you want
No.
to grab that, you'll need to save it. So you'll need to tap on it and save on it. So you've got a copy.
Yeah, save it onto your hard drive. Don't
Yeah.
open it there and then just leave it there. You have to save it.
Yeah,
Save
you've got to
as.
save it. If you don't save it, you won't get it, because if any PDFs are put into the chat, you have to save them. So go and click on it and save it into your computer.
If you've got time, I can go through what I've got on the screen now.
Oh, mate, we're happy to. I think we're happy to keep going. I've seen Nadia eating, so she's not struggling for a tea.
Well, I've moved from the Crimes Act and I've gone now to this affidavit of status. Okay, it's my CopStop affidavit of status. Where you print out, fill this out, edit it with your details on it, and then just keep a few copies in your car. When a cop pulls you over for whatever stupid reason, you don't answer questions, and you ask him, "What crime have I committed?" He'll get a little bit shirty, push you a little bit. So what you do is you give him this page and you say, "Okay, you need to accept this because I'm going to be calling you. I'm going to be calling and asking for it when I take you to court." Now, because you've said that on his body camera, he now has to accept it as evidence. Now, there's information in here that's going to educate him pretty quickly. So generally, it should be enough for him to, if he isn't aware of this, he'll look into it, believe me, before he sends you a fine. Okay. It refers to who you are. Also, the police powers. It's a broad view of police powers. It also quotes case law and precedent. So Regina versus Banner. You've got Justice Stephen Kay and Magistrate Duncan Reynolds in Melbourne. Basically, those cases are saying that the cop, what he's just done is committed a crime. It's an offence against the Commonwealth. That's what he's done. The moment he walks to your car, it's trespass of privilege, and he's committed a fray. There's already, so you've got those two things already in your stable of charges, because he has no jurisdiction, authority, or claim to pull you over if there is no crime, if there is no victim, right? Victim being a man or woman, either they were personally harmed by your conduct on the road or you've damaged property. That's all they have. They have no other further authority. This letter tells them exactly what they can and can't do. All right. It explains to them they are now in a bit of bother. The affidavit of status is saying that you are the living man and living woman. You are, you only understand comprehensible language. There's a list of things. Now he will be required to bring that to court with him. So he must take it, because on the body camera, you insisted. Now, if he says, I don't take that rubbish or whatever, he's proven himself to be belligerent, right? And you correct him and say, well, if you won't accept it, then for the record, because you're talking to his camera, you're not really talking to him. For the record, you've declined to take the offer, so we have no contract. Thank you very much. So I won't be expecting a fine at all then. All right. Never give up your name. He's always going to ask, what's your name? I'm Commonwealth. I said, what's your name? I'm Commonwealth. If you don't give me your name, I'm going to arrest you. Did you just threaten me? Did you threaten me? That's trespass. Trespass on my person. You've committed an offence against the Commonwealth. I told you I was the Commonwealth. You understand? You're hearing what I'm saying? This is how you're talking. You don't give your name up, right? You be nice about it. You don't push his buttons to make him more angry. And if he gets a bit hostile, you say on the camera, on his body camera, you're escalating a situation over nothing. All the evidence you're building up is against him. It's not his camera isn't to build evidence against you. It's the evidence against him, because you're going to be calling on his video evidence in court for your claim. Yeah. When they ask for the driver's license, and if you're feeling a bit stressed or whatever, and you don't feel strong enough to actually handle the situation, say things like, I'm a subject of the Crown. I'm protected under the jurisdiction of the Crown and the common law of England. And who are you? Are you a Commonwealth public officer? You'll say, no, I work for the state. I work for the state government. Yes, you do. You're an employee of a corporation. And then you repeat yourself. I'm a subject of the Crown. I'm protected under the jurisdiction of the Crown. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Am I making it clear? This is how you talk yourself out of it, because they have to go away. They get 3 goes at you, 3 bites. And if they're unsuccessful, they'll just walk. Right? If you do hand them the driver's license, just make sure that you make it very clear that that the driver's license is proof of competency. It's not ID. It's another one you can say. Right? If they're very nosy and want to pry into your private business, then bring in the Privacy Act. And all you've got to say to them is this an information privacy request under the Privacy Act? He has to walk away. He can't deal with you. So there's a number of different ways to talk to a cop without pushing their buttons and going, you can't do this to me. You got no authority, dada. That's not how you talk to these idiots, because they're imbeciles. And as far as law enforcement's concerned, and the courts and up to the government, as far as law and order and the whole chain, they're the imbeciles, and they're the ones with the guns. So don't wind your window down. Don't leave it up. They'll smash it. Right? Save yourself a lot of grief. Be
Not many of them
kind.
got a gun license either.
What's that? Sorry?
That not many of them have got a gun license either.
No, they don't, because they don't need it. If you look up the exemptions in your state for the police, firearm exemptions, especially Adelaide, South Australia is a great one. They actually list Freemason and Protestants. You know, if your religion is a Protestant, gun control doesn't have any control over you. Only a Protestant is allowed to have guns.
Under the Bills of Rights, 1688.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm a Protestant. I don't need gun control. Yeah. It's all learning the holes in their acts, and usually to fight whatever they're doing to you. You always gotta say, what's the act called that you're reliant on doing this? And they always refer to a particular act. Well, that's the act you look at. You go through it with a fine-tooth comb. First of all, you go to the section that they claim they're using against you. You know, 99 out of 10 court cases can be won if you just focused and stayed on point with the act and section that they're actually referring to. Don't add anything else. Don't go throwing in, oh yeah, but the Constitution says this and that. You've lost. It's not an argument. The onus is on them to prove you guilty. So keep it there. Don't argue like you're trying to defend yourself. You don't defend. You're innocent until proven guilty. You say this in court, to the court record. I'm innocent until proven guilty, aren't I? Everything you are, when your mouth is open, it's a question. Don't make a statement. When they ask a question, because they always ask, everything's a question coming out of their mouth. And it's usually something stupid. So you answer with a question that relates to that stupid question they asked. He who asks most questions wins. If you're in there defending yourself, trying to pick and find fault with what they're doing and making these statements and all these sort of things and adding more information and more subject matter into the argument, you've lost. So, but it doesn't matter how you argue at the end of the day. If they do find you guilty, then you use the bill of exchange to pay the contract. Or you'll do what I do when I get the document handed to me on the counter down at the court office. I cross out the amount, I cross out the penalties or whatever they're offering, whatever the benefits are that they're offering, put acknowledged on there, and just put in there, I do not consent, joinder, or act as surety, either implied or stated, by all non-Commonwealth entities whatsoever, and waiver all benefits on offer. And then I walk out. I give them back the document and I walk out. That's it. There's no contract. I just cancelled what they're trying to contract me to. Most people grab it, walk away and go pay it. Well, you've agreed. It's a contract. I ain't signed a contract that I didn't consent to. So you don't consent. And you give it back. Everything's a contract. If you don't like the contract, don't bloody sign it. And remind yourself, hey, but hang on, I am the summoned person's personal representative. Yeah, the run of words. I am the summoned person's personal representative, because that's exactly what you are. You are private. You have the Privacy Act that protects you from being the straw man. So bloody use it. If they want the straw man, throw them under the bus. You don't care. So long as they understand it ain't you. And that's what you have to make clear in the court. And when the judge is so belligerent and he's pointing at you going, oh, you're one of those sovereign citizens, then you point at him and say, are you a conspiracy theorist? Or maybe you got some mental health issues.
Yeah, mental health issues is probably pretty good actually.
Yeah, but you're only asking. You didn't say you've got a problem, right? You don't talk like that. You say,
Have you?
maybe you have. And also you could throw in there, if you do use mental health issues, I say, maybe everyone that stood before you and before me, maybe they should have their matter bloody reassessed or reheard. They want you out of that court real fast, mate. Because on the court record, it's not a court of record, it's a court record, right? It's a court record. It's not a common law record, it's a court record. Because you've got it all on the court record, because you now have the option to appeal if you find you guilty. So now it becomes an error in law and an error in fact, because when the next judge in the district court has to review it, he's going to look at the transcript and the audio or whatever he does, and he's going to say, oh yeah, there's no joinder here. We don't want to mess with this bloke. We don't want to go through that again. So there's a couple of tips there too.
Yep, beautiful. Beautiful. Any questions out there? Come on, guys and girls, get your balls out your pockets and start asking some questions.
Yeah, you got to be the most quietest group. I'm doing all the bloody talking. I want to hear more about you people.
Come on. Get
Yeah, I've
your
got one.
pockets.
If actually, just before you ask, I don't know if you're aware, the only organisation in Australia, if you want to call it an organisation, that has royal assent. Did you know there is one that actually has royal assent?
Go on.
Who is that?
It's the Royal Registry Office that's just opened up in Woodend, Victoria.
And what do they do?
It's the competition to here in New South Wales, we call them Services New South Wales. They handle all the
Oh.
registrations and all
Yes,
that, right?
yes, yes.
Royal
Yes.
Registration
South Wales.
Royal Registration Office in Woodend, Victoria.
Is that Daryl's?
Yes. Yeah.
Darryl,
Now,
John.
O'Brien?
O'Brien.
Oh,
Yeah,
Darryl.
Brian.
Yeah.
Spiros is there. You got
We've had,
Jeff,
we've
you got
had,
Ross,
we've
you
had
got a
Darryl
few of them.
O'Brien on. We've had Darryl O'Brien on here before now.
Okay. Well, there you go. So he
I've got
didn't.
it.
What that is if you understand the law of salvage, do you understand the law of salvage?
Well, I've to a degree.
Okay.
If you find something, then you can claim it.
It's about property ownership.
Mhm.
Law of salvage is, you probably all heard the phrase 9/10 of the law. If you possess,
Possession's 19th of the law.
possession is 9/10 of the law. What do you
Yeah.
suppose that 1/10 is that's missing?
Legal.
Huh?
No? Okay.
What else? Anyone want to have a go? 9/10 of the law is possession, right? Possession of 9/10 of the law. So what's the 1/10? So there's one piece missing. So it's not actually 100%, is it? You don't actually
No.
own anything 100% because there's one piece missing. So what do you suppose that would be?
It's
Well,
an
ownership.
What does
Anyone
service-
that wants to claim it? Anyone
Well,
else that
what
says
does
it's
ser-
fine?
what is this State Services Office do?
Oh no. Dirty
Oh.
dogs.
They own your car, they own your house, they own everything because you
Yeah.
registered it to them in your
Oh.
straw man name.
Oh, 50 uppercuts. To me.
So what we're doing is, and they're not even royal assented. So what we've done is we've got a royal registration office now open through Law Hayden. You can Google that up, Law Hayden, and it's about family crests, like they did in the old days in Europe. All families had a family crest. They used to
Yes.
display it outside the front door at the bottom of the
And
driveway.
This is very
on your
similar to where
uniform.
this is very similar to where Leith Matthews is going in WA with her grand jury, and the site is called executiveorders.life. She's explaining to everybody to get their executive beneficiary letterhead sorted out and set up a foundation under their executive beneficiary crest.
Yeah, you won't need to do that. We have royal assent. So
Yeah.
when you go and register your family crest with the Royal Office, all right, your family crest, you then register all the private property you own under that family crest. So now you own your car, you own your house. We're even issuing back land titles. We have the Crown Seal.
This
One of
Royal
them-
Royal Office is what? Sorry, this is Royal Registered Office. You're talking about Wood End, Victoria, through Darrell.
Yeah, up to about the late 70s, you only had the Queen's offices, the Royal Registration offices. That's all that existed. Had hundreds of them all around Australia. If you wanted to register anything, you went through that. You registered your private property on a royal registrar because we were royalist centred ourselves. We were subjects of the Crown. But then the corporation came in, they closed all of them. And at that time, if you actually were working in a public service company like I did, I was in the Navy, right? They came to you with a contract and they said, you lose your job if you don't sign this because you're not going to be a civil servant. You're going to be a public servant. So every civil servant at that time, to keep their job, had to sign this agreement and sign their job role or their employment over to a corporation.
I see Neil's got his hand up. If you want to ask Neil, just unmute and dive in there,
Yeah.
mate.
Isn't the story that we're not supposed to own anything, just control it?
We own, if you did a hard week's labor for somebody and they paid you money for that, that money you earned is for your sustenance, to live. It's not a commercial transaction. It's not even an income.
Well,
It's money you earn to live.
On an income.
Yeah, it's not a business transaction, basically, so it's not taxable. You shouldn't be paying income tax on.
I mean, that's the
Right.
beauty of running a foundation, because you don't take an income, you take a sustenance. The
Well-
foundation supplies
Yeah.
you a sustenance, which is anything you need, as long
The-
as the foundation is still there.
I understand all about the foundations and that, but if you create a private foundation after you've already registered your car with the government, it doesn't mean anything. They just want you to believe that. They just want you to believe it. Because if they needed to, or they wanted to, they're going to come and get your shit anyway. They bash your door down, they grab it. Right? I'll give you an example of how important registration is. I had a member who had 2 cars. The first car she owned outright. She used as additional collateral or security for a new car she purchased under finance. Over the COVID lockdown, she lost a job for obvious reasons, not being jabbed and all that sort of stuff. She couldn't meet the meat payment. So the company rang her up and says, oh, we've got to come around and pick the cars up, both of them, right? She says, oh, okay, no worries. So she accepted the fact that she was going to lose both of them. She understood because she didn't pay or whatever. Anyway, a few days have passed. They ring her up again, says, oh, we're only coming to pick up the new car, the one that's under finance and that, you know. And she thought, I better, well, why is that? What happened? I thought you were coming to pick up both cars. And their answer was, the other car's not registered. They can't touch it. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, but not registered where? I mean, they say to you, you're going to register your car. You
It's
can
not-
register your car under the UPU. We've got people driving around with, you know, I know of people driving around with cars registered under the UPU, where they put the UPU sticker above the VIN number, so
Yeah.
they've not covered it, and
Yeah.
they're driving around with their own private plates. And yeah, the police are coming to the plates, but they haven't took the car. He's put
Yeah,
his-
no. Look, it does work now. But we're full-blown communism, mate.
Oh yeah,
It's not
yeah.
gonna count.
You're not
Right.
far off,
It's not
yeah.
going to save anything. Yeah?
Yeah.
And a lot of people spend thousands of dollars for these private trusts and founding. I never had the use for it. I drive a car. My car's registered. But in New South Wales, we get free rego. So it's not worth fighting for. And I don't drive like an idiot on the road anyway, because even under common law, you're accountable for your own sins and deeds. So if you're going through 60k zone and you do 100k's, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? You shouldn't be doing it. So you deserve what comes. But at the same time, if they're coming to punish you, I get my back up because they're not freaking government.
Yeah.
They're a corporation. I got no contract with them. Well, you do if you're registered and you've got a driver's license. Their reasoning is, well, if you have a license, you've agreed to the road rules. No, the license is for proof of competency. It's got nothing to do with anything else. Right? A sign that says 60k on the road is not a law. There's nowhere.
Let's be honest. Does it say 60k or does it just say 60?
Yeah, well, I mean, we want to get into the real nitty gritty. We could be here all bloody night. I'm just coming.
I mean, we could use nautical knots if we wanted to and do 72.
Yes, that's bloody right too.
Half an hour or 110 kilometres an hour and say, well, he didn't say it was knots or kilometres or miles. I'm sorry, I don't know what I am.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I'm just making some really short and brief stuff. I'm hoping I'm getting through. That's all.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, at the end of the day, you've given us some beautiful information that we probably didn't know. Some of it we probably do. It's really good, mate. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
That's right.
Are we happy to share this and let it go out?
You're talking to me?
Yeah. You're happy?
Oh, yeah. No, look. You go for. I've said a lot worse on bloody video record.
Yeah. I probably have. Yeah, probably have.
I'm all for hanging them. Yay!
Yeah, well, the treason's there, mate.
I'll be the first lined up.
Yeah,
make sure that rope's nice and tight,
Yeah. And make sure
I have no fear, mate. I don't care.
Make sure the trapdoor works properly.
Yeah.
No, I'm hearing you completely. Any more questions out there, guys?
Jesus, you're quiet. Yeah. Every other Zoom, there's 100 people with their bloody hand up.
Well, I've given my answer. I'm far behind you guys, but I'm good. And what I heard, thank you very much. I really appreciated your efforts.
Leanne, how new are you? Do you understand the concept of the straw man and all that? Do you understand that?
Very, very basically. I only kind of heard about that about maybe a year ago, and I'm living in a van on the road. I'm not settled. I'm only barely, scraping by on all this info. I'd love to get into it, but I'm just don't feel like I'm in a good space to be able to deal with it.
What I'll do is for you is in the chat column here, I've put in there, Meet Your Straw Man. It's a PDF. You can read it in your own leisure on your computer, or you can print it out.
Thank you.
It's this I give to all newbies. Newbies to common law. Yeah. This is the first thing that I give them, because it gives them it's easy to read. You can get your kid, you can have your children read it. It's that simple English. It's very, it explains a lot of things, and you can, as you read through it, you'll think to yourself, my God, that's how I live.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
Absolutely.
They've got us in a very clever slavery system, basically. They've got us in a very clever, and they've been doing it for many, many years. I mean, after the 1340, the Romans started using the dog Latin. I think you'll find if you go back to Rowan and Romley, good information there. So, but yes,
another one for the more advanced is this one. You really need to read this one. It's called securitization fraud. this explains how our financial system works in this country as far as securitizing bills, mortgages, credit cards, personal loans. What they do with your bond when you sign that finance contract, whether it be a home loan or something like that.
Yep.
This document tells you exactly what they do with it, right? And it tells you how the system they're actually running. You don't actually have a loan. They don't keep it. They sell it for multiple amounts greater than what they actually gave you it to initially.
We had Janet on the other week telling us about mortgage stuff, and her mortgage was 240,000, I think. And she twigged onto this probably 4 years ago when we were in the CLC. So she's been playing with the ANZ like I have. I mean, I stopped paying the ANZ 4 years ago, and I missed a nugget the other day because I didn't put my paperwork in time, but I have now. Hopefully that will sort it out. But she found a guy in America to go through her what the QSIP numbers related to and who had bought them, etc. And I showed you some paperwork the other night on my mortgage as well, where I showed you the original application that I'd got a copy of and the copy they'd sent me to say, well, here's your mortgage document. And I said, well, that's not the wet ink one. And they'd sold it on to Perpetual, and there's various barcodes on it. Well, this guy in America is going to chase it all through and give me a 40-page document with 2 affidavits to say exactly what they've done to it and where they've broken the law, where they've broken the UCC, where they've broken the bills of exchange, where they've broken various other laws, and put it in 2 affidavits for me. So we're probably going to go ahead with that. I'm looking at Tanya. She's not nodding, but oh yeah, she's looking at me now. It's about 2,500 US, but I would really like to find out what they did with it, and this will give me a complete 40-page breakdown, which is an affidavit to say what they did with it and how they broke it down and what they did with it. But hers was sold to the Bank of Scotland for $1.2 million.
Yeah.
$1.2 million. It doesn't make sense. I don't comprehend how a $240,000 mortgage can be sold for $1.2 million into the stock market. But that just shows how they monetize you guys for being slaves and paying mortgages. I've been asking questions with mortgages for the last 4 years and got no answers. I've had nothing but, what can I say, belligerence from a solicitor that's acting on behalf of the bank, and he is now liable for millions for his job. But you know, at the end of the day, you've still got to stop the sheriff banging on your door. So you know, they're criminals. They're all criminals. And they're running for a criminal banking system, and you find your courts are owned by Gold Sachs, which is the Supreme Court. There's names for the others. I can't remember who owns which, but BlackRock's involved with the magistrate court.
BlackRock.
Vanguard as
Got
well.
a finger in every pie, don't they?
Yeah, well, they
BlackRock
own
and Vanguard.
95% of all major businesses. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street have shares in 95% of all major food production, manufacturing throughout the world. So it just shows you. And those companies, you cannot find out who owns them because they're all behind private trusts and private foundations. So it just shows you there's 12 families in this world. They call them the owners of the world. If you go and watch George Cole, George, not Cole, George, what's his surname? Someone give me his surname. George, a comedian in America, bald head with a beard.
Harlan.
What was that? Carling? That's it. George Carling. He has it down to a T. If you go to YouTube on George Carling, he has education down to a T. And they don't teach us what they want. They make us fit for work, which is what education means. Education in etymology means make fit for work. So it's pretty scary what you're looking at.
Yeah. Just don't call them elites.
Yeah,
The people that think they're elite.
Yeah, they've just managed to trick us through tricking others. I mean, you look at England. England went bankrupt back in the Napoleon War. Why did they go bankrupt? Because Rothschilds got a runner to come back to England to say they'd lost the war. Yeah, everything
Well, they owe Rothschilds a lot of money, didn't they?
From a pound to a penny on the stock market. Rothschilds bought it up. The next day we found out the English had won. England was bankrupt.
Yeah.
America, 1871, same thing, bankrupt. Bankrupt, why? Because of those people. You know, they
Did they not give Australia to the either the Rothschilds or the World Health? Somebody gave Australia as a surety for something.
I think the UN is trying to get its feet into Australia. That's what this voice thing's about. But
Oh,
see how we go with that.
well,
Gary, you got your hand up.
Yes.
Ask your question, mate. Unmute yourself.
Michael, thank you very much for bringing up about Woodend, and I've been chasing Darryl O'Brien and Law Hayden, and I saw the seminar 6-8 weeks ago. And so is there a contact? Do
Gary,
I have to
Gary,
go through
I've got his number, Gary. I've got his phone number if you want it.
Yeah, okay.
Just
Yep.
come and see me, mate. I've got his phone number, or just text me. I'll text it back to you.
Thanks, Michael. Well
That's all
done.
right, mate. Appreciate it. If you go look in your text box, I've actually put, while you've been talking, and I've been adding some documents there. There's a security, there's a meet your straw man, the securitization. There's a couple of options there, how to search for your QSIP number, which is, you can look it up, step-by-step guide, how to look up your tax file number and your driver's license number and your phone number, and not phone number, your phone account number, Medicare number. So you can use these steps, you can look up, see what your dollar value is. And then down further, we're talking about Crown Lands Act. The Crown's Land Act, 1823, that's like the blueprint to how to live in the private. It's the royal family's blueprint, how to live in the private. It's a 2-page.
The Crown's Land Act 1823.
Yeah, if you check that, it's probably titled a bit wrong, but because it does actually talk about real property. So, but this, as you read it, this is how the royal family are private from. It's the blueprint of how to be private from your SESQV trust. This is how the royal family made themselves private, separated from the SESQV strawman. All right. Then you go to the Crown's Land Act 1884. Just double check. I'll open these up.
Put on screen share if you want, mate. No worries.
Oh, sorry. Oh, well,
Yeah, you're
hang on,
not
sorry.
screen share at the moment. You're welcome to put it back on though. It's open.
Okay, hang on. So that's the Crown's Act. So that's yeah. So there's a couple of hang on. I have to open it first, don't I? And then you share.
Yeah, you got to find it on your screen in the dirt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, hang on. I'm having trouble opening my bloody Zoom. There you go. Okay. You see this one?
Yeah, it's coming up now.
This document, as you read through,
What's it say right at the top, or you just go back to the top? New
Okay.
South
an act for regulating the alienation of Crown lands. This is this is the New South Wales version. To give you a brief history on it, back in the 1800s, I forget the name of the gentleman who did this. New Zealand was the first one to have a council established. And then following New Zealand, New South Wales was the next one on the mainland, because New Zealand is actually
New Zealand is connected to New South Wales, and New South
Yeah.
Wales is actually everything up to the WA border, technically in their own act.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So obviously by natural progression, New South Wales was the second one to, on the mainland, is the first one to actually establish a council. The councils are legitimate to a certain point. but they were in design to manage Crown land for the Crown. When you read this document, it makes it very clear that fee simple is not Crown land. Fee simple is exclusive of any government interference and harassment. If you're being foreclosed on or you have an issue with council, you need to read this document because it's royalist centred. Even though it was at a time of the UK before our constitution, everything.
Can someone just close that mic? You've got an echo back.
Right.
I think we're
Okay.
good. We just got an echo back of someone's.
Okay. Yeah. So you really need to read this document because the Interpretation Act, 1980. Interpretation Act, 1970. No, Section 76A, or I can't remember it now. I've got a mind thing. I'm so bloody tired. But if you look up this Interpretation Act for validity of Crown Acts, it says very clearly that these acts that are back in the 1800s are valid then, are valid today, the same as when they were back then. And they supersede anything that the Australian government produces as an act.
What was the word you said? Validity of Crown Acts.
The validity of acts, the interpreter. So they could argue, oh, well, you know, this is an 1861 act, this is a UK act, da da da. Well, it says New South Wales, right? But as I said, I'm trying to think, bloody memory, you know. I normally have it right off the top of my head, but I'm so bloody tired, I just can't even think anymore.
I'm sorry, could you put a link to that document in the chat or no?
It is in the chat. I think it's one of the ones from the chat. There's about
Yeah.
5 PDFs just gone in the chat. I've
It's-
saved them all anyway.
It's called Crown's Land Act 1861, New South Wales.
Oh, okay, thank you. I've got it.
Highlighted, yeah. So, and I've highlighted the sections you need to read. I mean, the other stuff gets a bit boring, but but these are the more important chapters of it. And it summarizes the fact that you as a landowner, a title holder, a fee simple landholder, none of their acts, you're not bound by them. Because a fee simple landowner is supreme. He's the king of his own realm.
Which is your
Not
Michael
even the,
Nibs. This is
not
where
even-
Michael Nibs was like 8 years ago with his council tax, and he used this in his court case in Tasmania, and has
Yeah.
never paid council tax since.
not even the king or queen can put 1 foot on your property without your consent. So I can assure you the council have no control or power forcing you to pay a state tax, which is illegal. And they don't have any control over your land anyway. They don't have any say in what you do on your land at all. Right? That's how important that document is. What's the other one I gave you? Yeah, they're all important documents I gave you there. Yeah, a little bit advanced reading, but still, if you're already
That's
at your
really,
level.
really good, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the time you spent on research, what is it? Have you got some bank details we can give you a bit of a deposit, bit of a
No,
kick?
I don't take money. No,
Fair enough. Well, there is no money, so you can't take any.
no,
You-
I know.
You could take dollars if you wanted to.
Silver dollar coin be nice. But
Nice.
no,
What would
don't.
be
I'm not
foolish
asking.
to-
I'm not asking. I'm not asking.
Would be foolish, frivolous, stupid about a silver dollar coin. I'm sorry, I don't comprehend.
No, it's all right. Now look, I've seen all the others what they're doing, and half of them I wouldn't touch at the bar. So
I've
and the
not
kind of
took-
money,
not took a
they're
penny.
collecting, I think, oh my god,
I'm
you
not.
know.
I'm not took a penny for anything, so I'm really with you on that one, mate. I think
Yeah.
we need to learn together and grow. So that's
Yeah.
really beautiful. Can we have you back another time?
Oh, if you welcome me, yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Yeah. So if everybody could bring 10 people with you, Michael could have some real fun. He might get some questions instead of just people.
Yeah. What a dud crowd.
Come on, guys, get out your bloody box and speak. Nadia, Glenn, come on.
Yeah, come on. Surely you two.
You seem to ask all the questions, Andy. Sorry.
Not a problem. So what we covered, cop stop, we covered council stuff, we covered the remittance, the bills of exchange. You're right with the numbers, the sections that I quoted earlier. Did you just get them all that, or do you want me to repeat them?
In regard to which one?
Just in the Bills of Exchange Act to
Oh
read.
no, I didn't actually write those down. They were the ones I missed because I haven't got a pen and paper at that point.
I'll give you
BO exchange. BOE.
Bills of Exchange Act, and you can read section 5, 22, 26, 30, and 34.
Beautiful.
All right. The other ones to read, I'll just see if I've got a quick note of it. No, I haven't got it. You'll find a lot of this information is already in Live in Private. So if it was something related to law, then go to court and police and go into those files. You'll actually see the documents. If it's related to council, then go into the council chat and you'll find these documents related to your rates and council. So they're very specific areas. Yeah, so just go there. Dick Yardley has his own. There is a chat there as well, but it's not a chat as such. It's just it's a chat, but we made it a library. All his documents are in there. Use them. If you're dealing with a judge, you're dealing with a cop or a prosecutor, you're dealing with a politician, you make sure you print out Dick Yardley's document. It'll hold them in mistreason.
I've got
so you can address it.
I've got his book.
Yeah, I've got the PDF copies. So you can reprint as many as you need. And they're in there. And I've got, if you look in there, you'll find a lot of it.
Mike Holt took his PDF and made it into a book and then sold it, which I think is a bit cheeky, but I did buy the book off Mike.
Well, Dick Yardley gave consent for Mike to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike did have to spend money to get them printed into hard copy. So he has to make something out of it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. He's not.
I bought his trespass signs not too long ago, and I got them scattered around the front of the house. So here on every gate, there's a trespass sign on there. So I do buy from other sources. You got to buy it, otherwise it's going to cost you just as much to create something unique for yourself, and you could spend the same dollars. It's not. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
If you want. I'm a cheapskate because I try not to buy too much. My most expensive purchase is this. I highly recommend this.
Constitution. Yeah, I've got one.
Right. Yeah, it's the.
I bought a leather-bound copy in black, but I was probably about 7 years ago now when I first went on to the Constitution.
Well, I spent the dollars on that because that's everything.
Yeah,
that's the Bible for our country.
The problem is, what I sort of say is that who is left that's alive that signed the Constitution?
Well, Quick and Garron produced the Constitution. They wrote it up, and it was passed through Parliament in the UK. It didn't need us to referendum because at that time we were under UK rule. So they passed our Constitution 1901.
Do you still feel that we should do some sort of treaty with the locals if you've got any locals left? No. Okay.
They didn't have a government. They didn't have a king. They didn't have a queen. They didn't have. In those days, remember,
380 queens. Countries
got invaded, mate. other country, Europe got invaded. Country borders changing all the time through invasions and wars and things like that. You can't escape that. That's unfortunate for us being the human race, the superior being on the planet. Shit happens. You have to deal with it.
As
right?
my
Well,
uncle,
can I just say that many of us Aboriginal people came out in chains, and that if the Aboriginal folks have got a problem, they should be taking it up with the East India Trading Company and the monarch, rather than the people that came in chains or came with the promise of a better life. That's just my opinion.
But the other problem too is how far back, and I wasn't responsible for any of that. I wasn't alive there.
yeah, true.
So why should I be paying compensation
right.
to
I
a
object.
group of people? And then we got to remember too, the Aborigines weren't the first.
No,
They wiped out a pygmy
pygmies. There was
race that
various
was here
different
first.
Yeah,
They wiped them out. So what we're
Another
going
scam.
and then this is what it is. It's brainwashing to distract you from reality and the truth. And they just throw
Absolutely.
this other rubbish in front of you so that you spend waste all your time and energy looking at that, trying to fix something that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They've just blown up the biggest history museum in France. So you can see what they've been doing in previous lives, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, they were
when you say what is it?
primitive, for
What is
God's
it?
sake.
Let's be
They were
honest. what
primitive
is it?
people.
It's his story. His story.
Yeah.
It's not the story. It's his story.
Yeah.
So it's whoever wins the battle writes the laws.
Yeah.
Whoever
And if-
wins the battle writes the history.
And if you ask an Aborigine, what's your land? They don't say it's their land. They're only the custodians.
Yeah.
It's Mother Earth or whatever. So they admit they don't own the land. they only custodian.
And we are as well, to be honest. We're only custodians while we're here.
Well,
And
really,
afterwards,
Yeah,
is
well-
theirs.
I wouldn't agree to that. I worked bloody hard to buy this bloody land, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. You would just wait
If I want compensation, if I want to give it up to somebody, I want my bloody money back with interest.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's fair comment.
I
And we-
was given, it was invaded, it was conquered. It wasn't conquered, actually. It was just settled. That's all we did. We didn't invade or conquer anything. We settled it. And the crown at the time, I'm German. I'm not even English. But, I still talk. I enjoy having the crown as a tool.
Hold on.
I don't like I'm not a fan of the royals.
The Queen and
I
the
think
King
they're
is
crooked
German
acts.
background. The King
Sorry?
and the Queen are both German background.
Well, that's right.
They're German.
Yeah, but
I mean, World War One was a war between two cousins and a brother.
yeah, I know. But they're statue. The Queen and King are statues. They operate as a statue. Every time you see them out in public, who do you know them as? Her Majesty, His Majesty.
Oh,
They're walking around as their straw man.
yeah.
They're not. They were not Charlie. They call him Charlie, do you?
No.
Your best pal. He's in. But if you ever watch the older videos where Queen Elizabeth goes down through the suburbs, or walks down a main street, a residential street, and she stops at a few houses to talk to the residents there and that, you never see her walk on their property. But you never see her, you never hear her asked to either.
You don't want to be a resident, though.
Well, no. Oh, come on. I'm just joking. I know what you're saying. For God's sake, I want to speak normal bloody English for a change, I don't want to talk legalese crap.
Can't do it. You gotta know the words you're speaking. It's just
Yeah, no. Well, I'm not interested in legalese. I don't like. You go into court. I'll make it very clear. Yeah, I don't understand your black law dictionary rubbish. I'm a simple man, a living man. I'm a subject of the crown. I only understand the bloody basic common English, the Webster's dictionary. Do we understand this? Yeah, you make it very clear where you're standing. You take charge of the court. It's your bloody court. It's your building. These assholes don't belong there.
Yep.
So they talk like it's your bloody property they're sitting in there. You're the bloody landlord. Anyway.
Good talk. Love you for it.
If you
Question
ask,
to anybody.
if they say the judge has always got to call you out by name, oh, is Mr. So and so here? Yeah, right there. Point at him. You're the trustee of that person. Just point at him. You're the trustee of that person. He's here. Have fun with it. What are they going to do? Line you up in front of a firing squad? He's just going to yell at you and carry on like a 2-bob watch. Let him. Don't let him push your buttons. You okay? You having a mental breakdown or something? That's how you talk to them. Talk normal. Stop trying to work against the system. Stop trying to be in their system. If he's implying some rubbish, who do you think's standing in front of you? The entity that your employer created fraudulently from a birth certificate, or a living man? Tell me which one. Remember, the court record is your only friend. Every other mongrel in there are working against you. Don't even 1 minute believe they're your friend or helping you.
And they're all being paid from your purse.
Yeah. Section 5 of the Constitution. There's no powers of separation. Use it, but don't go off about the Constitution, because these clown schools don't know, hear or see. They're deaf, dumb and blind when you talk common law and Constitution. So when he says, and they always, when you challenge them, it's like a script, you know, I was properly appointed by the Parliament. Oh, so call him out. So you admit on the court record there's no power of separation. You see how I challenged him with the Constitution without using the Constitution? This is how it's all theatrics.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, "Oh, if you keep talking like that, I'll hold you in contempt of court." Oh, will you be sharing the cell with me for perverting the course of justice? You throw it back at him, because it's all theatre. It's threat with enforcement, threat. They're just trying to scare you into submission. Don't fall for it. Don't listen to it. Look around. You're in the court in the front of this moron, right? Because that's what he is. He's a moron, right? Here's something to write down. Coram non judice.
That's
Look up the definition.
Brian Shaw's words.
Coram non judice. Look up that word. Look at the definition of that. That's what that's what you're standing in. It isn't a recognised by the Commonwealth. All right. Well, I've lost what I was going to think then. But anyway, yeah. So, but I mean, it's just play with it.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
like the prosecution, you know, when they say, "Oh, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?" Well, how can I plead for anything?
I'm not an animal.
I don't even know. Well, the prosecution I haven't even seen what the prosecution's got for facts. I'm not interested in the presumption shit. Let me see what he's got for facts first, then I'll plead, because you have the right to see the evidence, the affidavits, the complaints. Remember, they're supposed to have a victim. Where's my victim? Where's your victim? Did they not turning up today? Are they special? They've got special needs that they can't appear?
Oh, the victim is New South Wales government. Where are they then?
It's Regina. Sorry. Well, who's Regina? She doesn't have first-hand knowledge in this matter. I don't know a Regina. Right? You play with it.
Good words, mate. Good words. I'm with you 110%. It's beautiful. Any questions left? Should we call it a night? I've got food in the oven ready to eat. Anybody?
I think I got two
No,
messages.
not from me.
Not from you. Beautiful. Duncan, Nadia, Glenn, Gary, Tanya, Neil, Paul.
Have all those that came in late, if they joined Live in Private, did they know that the link is the first comment in the thingo? So if you haven't,
yes,
if you weren't aware,
and I have saved. I think I've
Coming
saved.
late, you can't see the comments before you arrived.
Yeah, I think I've saved.
Oh, really?
Yes, I don't think I've saved the Living in the Private link, to be honest. Let me just take that out of there now and stick it in Telegram.
No, we can't see the link.
Well, I've just posted it back in there. I've just done the link there. You
Yeah.
get instant join if you go on that one. You can join straight away. Everything's in there. Everything I've talked about today, plus tons more. Right.
I'll stick
Thank
it
you.
on our personal Telegram group. Just our
Just
women.
make-
One. There's about 80 members on there. They're pretty switched on. I don't think you get much problems. If you do, just tap me and I'll have a chat with them.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of them. I've got 32 admins in there, and they don't take shit from no one. So they won't tolerate any misbehaviour or any rudeness or anything. We protect our members. We protect our members from being attacked by other members, but at the same time, we're a community. We're a community that actually looks after each other and helps each other, and that's the beauty of it. Because I don't know everything. Don't ever believe that I'm fucking don't look at me like some guru or nothing. I don't want any part of that.
Knowledge.
I don't know everything.
Clever, mate. Your knowledge is pretty good. You've done a bit of work. You've sat down and read shit, which I haven't. I fix caravans. I just love helping people. So I don't get the time you get to read shit. I don't know how you manage it, but you've learned a lot. You've given me some pointers, so I'm really pleased about that. Thank you very much. And it's been lovely chatting to you, and we're connected on Telegram, so let's keep chatting, and I'd love to see your work. Much appreciated. Can I have a big hand for Michael for his time?
Yes,
Michael.
thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
No
Michael.
problem.
You're a champ.
Now you'll find me and live in private as Michael-Rolf. That's me. So if you wanted to talk to me privately regarding a matter or something like that, you're more than welcome. But we do keep everything private and live in private. We do not go and share our stuff in the masses. If they want it, they have to join, and they have to make sure that they follow our rules.
That's good. That's good. And whereabouts are you based, in case we pass your door?
Penrith.
Oh, yeah, you did say Penrith earlier today.
I'll
actually.
be passing up that way
I have been to Penrith,
eventually.
but it was a while ago.
Every Friday morning, you'll find Live in Private members having a breakfast, or it's like a social meet and greet at Maldini's on the river.
Yeah.
Oh,
Penrith.
I've been there. I know that. My daughter lives there.
There you go. Well,
You
every
could have
Friday
been
morning
with-
you'll find us there. We have a special table there, and we do on a regular basis have special events that can actually fill the restaurant up.
Ah, Maldini's, hey?
Yeah, that's our meet and greet, breakfast, coffee, social meet and greet. Yeah,
Just
I,
so
I'm
you
not
know,
Perfect.
just
I
so
don't do common law assembly stuff. I leave that for Michael Holt and his group. Live in Private is a community. We're national. We don't segregate separately, but we do have groups of people in Live in Private that actually started their own little meet and greet thing.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
No,
But you may be able to encourage more members in your group from Live in Private as well.
Yeah. No, that's more than likely. That will happen. People are waking up all the time, so that's really beautiful. Yeah, no, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. You can